In this video, I'm going to teach you how to photograph your wine and whiskey collection for a probate valuation from Swift Values. My name is Mark Littler. I'm one of the valuers here. I've got 20 years experience and I'm also one of the co-founders. And the key takeaway here is that it's not difficult to do this well, and it's not as complicated as you might be thinking in the first instance. So with wine and whiskey, it is slightly more difficult in terms of you might be looking at a wine collection with perhaps 1,000 bottles in. So there's more items to photograph than normal typically with wine and whiskey. However, it can still be very simple. We only need a few different photographs as well. It's not particularly difficult in that respect. So the first photograph that I'd like you to take is one of the overall collection. So whether that's a cellar, take 5 photographs of the cellar so that we can see all the bottles in situ there. Or if it's a smaller collection just in a rack or in a wine fridge, take a photograph of that so that we can see, 1, how the wine's being stored, and 2, the broad scope of the collection. And then with whiskey, likewise, if you can take a picture of it's all in the bottom of a wardrobe or all on display on shelves, this is very useful for setting the context and looking what might be available there. Now, with wine and whiskey, this is where they part ways in some ways, because with wine, it is very simple to create a spreadsheet with a list of what bottles there are and the details of what you've got. So every bottle of wine will tell you quite simply what you've got. So for instance, it might say Chateau Lafite 1982 and you've got 6 bottles. That's pretty straightforward. So with wine, once you've provided those overall photographs of the storage conditions, you can just provide an Excel spreadsheet with all of the wines that you need valuing, and we can value them from there. With whiskey, on the other hand, there's lots more nuanced information because whiskey is not just bottled by the distillery, it's also bottled by lots of independent distilleries. So for instance, independent bottlers, pardon me. So for instance, you might get a bottle of Macallan bottled by the Macallan distillery, or you might get a bottle of Macallan bottled by the independent bottler Gordon and MacPhail. Likewise, there's lots of variance in terms of the alcoholic strength, the vintage, the bottle year, the age of it, the series, the show, the cask type, all little different variants. So therefore, with whiskey, the best thing to do with whiskey, rather than making that Excel spreadsheet that you do with wine, you take the bottles and you line them up 5 at a time and take a photograph of those 5 bottles. And it really is that straightforward. Just a photograph of the 5 bottles with your camera in a landscape mode and square on so that each of the bottles is in relative square with the camera, and that's it. If you've got 50 bottles, you take 10 photographs. It really is that simple. If you've got any questions, get in the comments below or call the office and we'll be more than happy to help.